All right. Parashat Korach. Parashat Korach, as of course we can't avoid that. Let's talk about the famous machloket. It seems like the machloket in Am Yisrael has always been there. You know, since back then until today, there's always machlokot in Am Yisrael. But the first machloket, the first disagreement, machloket is more than just a disagreement. Machloket is more of like a dispute, a major dispute in the... What happened to your white shirt?
We went out today.
Oh, okay. So, the first machloket is really between Korach and his people. Let's put this a little bit in perspective. We'll talk a little bit further down. Next, or after that, we have a recorded machlokot. Is machloket between. Thank you, Motek. Between the famous one, Bet Shammai, Bet Hillel machloket. Then we always, from that point on, we always seem to have someone in machloket. This one disagreeing with that one disagreeing with this one. Left agrees against right, reform, conservative, orthodox, secular. It's a headache. This is terrible. Sometimes those machlokot led to tremendous difficulties in Am Yisrael. Big problems in Am Yisrael. And usually it's negative. And even today, you really see it. I think today it's not right to say there are more machlokot than ever, but we have our fair share of disagreements and different views, and which to a certain extent lead to tremendous hatred within our society. I mean, to the point that a Jew hates a Jew. It's terrible. I mean, not enough that the goyim hates us. Now we have to hate ourselves. So, but we need to see really, is that usually a machloket a negative thing? Is machloket always a bad thing? Or maybe we could say that sometimes those machlokot, those arguments really lead us to a better reality, like halachic machlok. I mean, I don't know. We have to see. Let's check it out. So in the center, the focal point of this parasha, of course, is the hard machloket between the Korach is actually bringing up, and Korach demands Moshe to receive a more important role in the nomination. It's like the Israeli parliament. Everybody fighting about nominations. If you know about coalition, coalition. It's the same thing. Nothing has changed. And he complains to Moshe the injustice that he feels that was done to him, and he wants, an important role. The Mishnah in Masechet Avot in Perek Hey deals with machloket in a general fashion, and the Mishnah over there says, "Kol machloket she'i l'shem shamayim." And we'll see exactly what the concept of Shem Shamayim is quite difficult, but we'll see. Maybe we can understand what it is. In this case, any machloket that is for the sake of heaven, so-called, en sofa litkayem. V'she'ena l'shem shamayim. Sofa litkayem. V'she'ena l'shem shamayim en sofa litkayem. Right? If it's for the sake of heaven, it's going to be recorded for centuries, and if it's not, it's going to go away. So what is a machloket l'shem shamayim? The Mishnah says over there, that's machloket Hillel v'Shammai. And what is machloket Shena l'shem shamayim? Is machloket Korach v'adato. Now we have to pay attention, being a good Yeshiva Bachurim, we have to pay attention to the wordings here. So the question that we need to ask about the example that the Mishnah brings us, on machloket Shena l'shem shamayim, is of course that the word is missing. Because machloket l'shem shamayim, it says Hillel v'Shammai, right? It says Hillel v'Shammai. They were arguing. Here too, in the machloket she'eina l'shem shamayim, that is not for the sake of shamayim, also had to say that it is machloket Korach against Moshe. It doesn't say Korach against Moshe. It says machloket Korach ve'adato. Who they were arguing, right? So why is that? Why is the word of Moshe, or the concept of Moshe, or the man Moshe, is not mentioned as a part in this argument, in this dispute, like the other one? So first we need to understand what is a machloket in general. Some mefarshim say that the root of the word machloket is chelek, mishum mechalek. A person who is dividing. Vechelek means a segment, a portion. Chelek means a portion, like chelek l'olam haba and so on and so forth. And the nature of our world is, the way we have our world is that it has many different sections, chalakim, different parts, and they're all different. They're all different. There's a great variety. And of course, that's like the Gemara says in Barachot, that the great variety is only thanks to the greatness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that was able to create such a variety of object in this world. We need to think about what happens when we want to make everybody to look like us. Of course, that's going to be probably further down the road. In other words, it's nice to have a white shirt, black pants, but it's also have to have blue, and basically everybody wears blue. Blue and whatever, and that's fine also. Not everybody has to be like that. That's good. Not all people have to be white or yellow or brown or whatever. Everybody could be red and brown and red and I don't know, whatever other colors of people out there. It's okay. I deliberately don't use the word black because it's not really black, they're brown, but never mind. So this is what the word, the world is, and every chelek, every segment has its own character and unique character that is unique only to him, even culturally. It's wonderful that there are so many different cultures out there in the world, because we can learn from everyone and we can share and so on. It's a wonderful thing. Otherwise, it would be boring. It would be boring. So, technically, or in principle, we shouldn't be so afraid of machloket. Why? Because this is the whole essence of the world. The celebration of the uniqueness of the individual segments and individual parts that are there. However, this is only good when we fulfill one condition, that it's l'shem shamayim, for the sake of heaven. Okay? So now we need to see exactly what is machloket l'shem shamayim. So machloket, we already know what it is. It's the different parts, the different divisions. L'shem shamayim, for the sake of heaven. So let's see exactly what l'shem shamayim is. So we need to know what shamayim is. That's the key, I guess, to key. So Chazal explained to us, the shamayim, the word shamayim, is put together from two words, esh v'mayim, from fire and water, and which are completely different in essence, and and in our world don't come in coexistence. By the way, in the Makkah of Barad that came from Shamayim, right? There was the fire and the ice together. Oseh Shalom Bimromav represents the fire and the water, that they live in coexistence in Shamayim. So you understand the remez behind that the fire and the water, being so different, completely opposite, completely forces in reality, completely opposites, but everything has its one source, and that's what unifies them, right? That includes everything. That is the essence of everything, and that is Olam HaShamayim, in Shamayim. So when we have this kind of machloket l'shem shamayim, is that every chelek, every portion in creation knows exactly its source, and the source of all the other chalakim, all the other parts in this world, is identical. In other words, if we will put it down to our world, and let's bring it down to our world, and we tend to forget, that all men came from one source, from Adam HaRishon. Everything was included in Adam HaRishon. So argument's sake, let's say I deny, let's say I'm, I don't know, I don't see myself as a white person. But, let's say, I'm a white person, okay? So, if I, for example, let's say, don't like black people, or don't like Chinese people, that means that I really neglected the basic concept that is brought in Sefer Bereshit, that we are all one. We are all one. We're all human. And we all came from one source. That concept, to think that we are different. I mean, what are we, aliens? What, for the non-Jews there was I don't know, a different source, and for the Goyim were different. No, we all came from Adam HaRishon, Adam and Chava. We all came together. We need to understand that. And even more so, if you go down to our level, I mean, aren't we all the children of Yaakov, of Abraham, of Yitzchak? Aren't we all? But we forget that. So then I say, oh no, there's Sfaradi, Ashkenazi, Hasidi. He's a Jew like me. He's a human like me. How could I deny all this? Basically, when I'm becoming racist and I am dividing myself from everybody else, I basically wiped out all of Sefer Bereshit. Everything. Sefer Bereshit tells us how things came. Not understanding that we all one, and there's something that unifies us. Even more so as a Jew, that there's something that's unifying us at the source, and that's the Torah, that we all received. It unifies us, it puts us together. And we forget that. And that because of that, we become horrible people. There's no room for racism and hatred in the world of the Jew. And I'll tell you this, if you as a Jew are a racist, you're being a very bad Jew. A very bad Jew. You can't do it. In other words, you're saying to me, you only have 4 books of Moses. You don't have 5 books of Moses. You forgot that. You have to remember, you have to understand that. And it's very important to know that. Everything has its job. Everything has a specific task that it needs to accomplish, and it cannot be done without that part. Everything makes overall the puzzle. And these concepts were brought in the Gemara that says that everything was included within Adam HaRishon. Everything was included within Adam HaRishon. Adam HaRishon was the puzzle. Was the picture perfect of a human. And then HaKadosh Baruch Hu took this puzzle, put it together in the bag, shook it, very good, and then spread it out all over the world, right? And some fell in China, and some fell in Africa, and some fell in America, and some fell here in Europe, and now we are all of our job is to bring the Tikkun Olam, fixing of the world, you're late again, for Tikkun Olam, and actually put this together. What's your excuse today? You gave birth or something? Everyday story. You understand what I'm saying? It's very important to understand that. We are wasting so much time in hatred instead of love. It takes more to hate. It takes more to hate than it is to love. Here, write that down, Sam. Yes, Sensei. Yeah. It takes more to hate than it is to love. So you are full if you live life of hatred. So machloket l'shem shamayim shesofa litkayem, right? That is going to exist, so called, is when every part knows again its own part, that he has a part of his own, and he acknowledges the job and the place of the other. That's why I always tell you, Bal Tachmod corresponds with Ani Hashem Elokecha. Why? Because if you are, why are you chomed? Why you desire something that is not yours and belongs to somebody else? Because you don't believe that God gave it to him. So he has whatever, I don't know, he drives a Lamborghini. Oh yeah, good for him. Gesundheit, yeah, bari, mach matli. I don't need to have it. And of course, all this machloket kazot is going to maintain. I mean, it's going to stay. It's going to be recorded. It's going to sustain itself. Because not only there's no room to hate, there's also no room to inappropriately value the job of the other. In other words, you are not more important than everybody else. The other person is just as important as you are. Just as important as you are. And then we need to remember. Everything's okay? Yeah, nati buena. Yalla motek, en bayot. However, machloket l'shem shamayim is just the opposite. Machloket she'ena l'shem shamayim is a machloket that doesn't understand the importance and the necessity of having the other. And it doesn't acknowledge the value of the other to exist, or his right to exist. And machloket shelo l'shem shamayim is when a person thinks that he's better than the other, he's more important than the other. That's why he dismisses all the parts that associate with the other, and he goes to war against them. Even though that in reality, right, they are needed for the existence of the world. Where is here? Remember we talked today about alone also. We talked today about eating too much tuna and so on and so forth. That's you see, that's the chain. I hate phones. That's the chains. That's the we need to have it. You break something in the chain of creation, and it becomes a problem. Everything is needed. That's why the resources that Kadosh Baruch Hu gave us in the world will give us to use again under control and tremendous contemplation. I mean, we need to be very careful with what we're using, not to abuse that as well. And don't think that again, everything has a job, but don't think that the bees are less important than human, because you know what? Your existence in a way depends on bees. There are no bees, there's no fruit. No vegetables. Imagine you will have to go, in order to have fruits on your trees, you'll have to go flower by flower to dust, the flowers in order to have apples. You're crazy. But you have a whole bunch of bees doing it for free. And you get the honey. And you complain. I'll give you an example. For example, let's say certain squash. They have a flower. That flower lives for a day. And if that flower opens up in the morning and by noon doesn't get pollinated by something, it dies. So you have a window until noontime. Rabotai, it's a big musar to all of us you could apply to yourself. So sometimes in order to have a production, you have to go by, the farmer by hand and really pollinate each and every flower in order to have a chance to have some yield. It's very simple. So, however, if machloket is like that doesn't acknowledge the importance of the other, that's sofar she'ena li'yitkayem. Why? Because at the end, those portions that didn't give a chance to live to the other parts made themselves also disappear from this world. And you taking too much room, so-called, you don't give enough space for people to grow, and so on and so forth. So eventually you will have to go back to your natural size, and then the other parts are not near you, and it's too late. The job cannot be accomplished anymore. That's why it's important for us to try to reach out to every Jew out there, to bring them to Hashem, to bring him to the Torah, to finish the job that we need to do. That's why we have mitzvah tochecha. Tochecha doesn't mean you're just rebuking and yelling at people. It's just like, nicely. Sometimes you do have to give somebody a harsh word. But depends where it comes from. We'll get to this later. Depends where it comes from. So the Mishnah teaches us that machloket that is not for the sake of heaven is machloket with one side of that in the world of halakim, in the world of parts, thinks that he is everything and he doesn't allow anybody to live. And that's exactly what happened in the machloket of Korach and his chevre over there. Korach doesn't understand the importance of connecting all the parts together, bringing everybody to the table, make sure that everybody has something to do so. He doesn't see the necessity and the importance of that. Korach doesn't understand that all the other parts are needed for him to finish or to accomplish his chelek, his part, and they give him a place to exist, to sustain. And that's why I said to you many times, go to nature and you'll realize that you are a part of creation. When you go here in the world, you don't see anything. You go to nature, you sit down, you say, everything has an order, and so are you. We feel depressed because we feel we are useless. That's what happens many times to people who retire or old people. They feel useless. There's no need for them anymore, and they die. Or to people younger who feel that they're absolutely nothing. But if you understand that you are important, there's a room for you. That would not happen to you. And from as far as Korach is concerned, he's alone in the world. Nobody else around him counts for anything. He's alone there in the world. He does lo akhpat lo mi'af echad. And he doesn't really care, and he's not interested in anything besides himself. Not the well-being of others. He just worries about himself. He's a very selfish person, and it's a very selfish attitude. And the Mishnah, it's very possible the Mishnah only mentions the side of Korach and Adato because also among themselves they had machloket. Not only they had a machloket with Moshe, they had a machloket with themselves. And this chevre of Korach joined him from different reasons, but they all came together to create chaos. But they also themselves did not give room for one another. It was all about how could I use you and how could you serve me? I don't care about caring about you. And we'll talk later a little bit about chesed and the importance of chesed involved in that. And maybe we get a little bit kabbalistically about that. So talking about a little kabbalistically about this, the Noam Elimelech, where's Rebs? Hey, Rebs. The Noam Elimelech is explaining this Mishnah, and it says, Hayat tzarich lomar, and I'm quoting, Hayat tzarich lomar machloket Korach u'Moshe ve'Aaron. The Mishnah should have said, Machloket Korach, Moshe ve'Aaron. Korach haya cholek im adato, right? It says, but Hayat tzarich lomar machloket Bet Hillel u'Vet Shammai. The Mishnah says, Machloket Hillel ve'Shammai, not Bet Hillel, Machloket Hillel ve'Shammai. Elama, I'm continuing here. Shammai ve'Hillel. Be'emet chalku l'shem shamayim. The machloket was Shem shamayim. And their kavana was not for anything in the world. They had no intention to derive any kind of glory and any kind of pushing themselves to a position, like many people do today, align themselves with this one, or, so on and so forth. They wanted to get down to the bottom of halacha. And I'm telling you, that's what you get when you learn the Chavruta. And that's why it's important for all of you to make a real tight muscle and come in the morning. Because the people that you're going to become Chavruta, the people you're going to become Chavruta, like for example, I was Chavruta with Lavian's father, and I can tell you this, we had argument that we were about to jump at each other. And I love his father, Ahavat Nefesh. I mean, the arguments, we were screaming at each other. But it was out of love, and we are best of friends. I mean, I know his father for over 25 years now. But that's the debek of the chavruta, of the Torah, because Hashem Shamayim is not to prove, I know more than you know more than me. That's like shtuyot. That's why it's important. Forget about travacho, forget about everything. Come to Tilmat Torah. We have great things in store for you. We need you. We need you. And you need us too, but we need you. You see, it's a mutual thing. And by the way, just like anything, like any other relationship, when the relationship is one-sided, it's not going to exist. When the relationship is giving, this one is giving to this one, and the other one is giving to the other one, that's something that is going to stay a long time. That's how you become successful. So the machloket was Their machloket was an honest machloket. But the Talmidim of Bet Shammai or Bet Hillel was already different, right? And it says, oh, my Rebbe is bigger, my Rebbe is bigger one, this one is the other. It's like, my dad is bigger than your daddy, and so on and so forth. It's like shtuyot. The Talmidim already had a machloket shelo l'shem shamayim. They want to see who is better. And vaya mu'urav b'zeh begeut. There was arrogance involved in that. Now the Ma'or Vashemesh says the following: in everything, bechol davar yesh ma'aseh veyesh kavana. Every action there is in everything there is an action and there is an intent. There is an action and there is an intent. And the kavanah, and the kavanah is of course kavanah pnimit and kavanah is chitzonit. The kavanah is internal, what you really mean inside, and what your action is what you do outside. There is inside and outside. There is kavanah and maaseh. And he says, and especially in something so dangerous as a machloket, we have to be very, very careful, first of all, to examine ourselves. What's the intent of this argument that we are arguing? What's the bottom line? What's the source of this? What's this is all about? Is it about something that I really care about? Or is just a point for me to prove that I'm better than you? Or stronger than you? Or so on and so forth. However, Moshe Rabbeinu, and that was exactly like Korach, Moshe Rabbeinu, which was the leader of Am Yisrael, is a semel of Am Yisrael. In other words, Moshe believes in the ability of Am Yisrael to come together, to be put together as one nation, as one group. And he understands and he believes that you can put all the pieces together. And it's possible. And the pieces are important to be put together. And everybody is important. And in order to have a nation, we need to gather everybody. We cannot become a nation if we are fragmented. And that was the argument of Haman. Yeshno am echad mefuzar umefurad ben kol ha'amim. There is one nation who is spread out among all the other nations. However, he himself is also divided. That's not a nation, Rabotai. It's a catastrophe. And today, unfortunately, you can see it many times, politicians do that. Politicians promote themselves by dividing the people. Not by uniting the people, by dividing the people. And even if you're going to come there to divide, to put the people together, to unite them, they're going to be your biggest adversaries. Why? Because they don't want in the division, in the unification of the people, they want them divided. It's called hafred umshol, divide and conquer. And that's exactly what it is. So we need to know, right? That's what Moshe Rabbeinu says. Mi ke'amcha Yisrael, goy echad ba'aretz. It's one nation. All over the world, but we are one nation. And again, we need to acknowledge that every Jew, regardless of his opinions and regardless of his locations, the way he's dressed, is all a part of the greater thing that it's called Am Yisrael. And so if you do so like this, so you see that the machloket that is l'shem shamayim is a great thing, is a wonderful thing. The acknowledgement of the individual for a greater cause, for a greater thing. And that's the kiyum of the world. The world exists on something, on that. And if you can find this, by the way, you can find this as a proof or support to that in the Gemara in Masechet Yevamot in Perek Aleph. It says, "Af al pi she'elu osrin ve'elu matirim, elu poslim ve'elu machshirim." Even though that there one says it's mutar, the other one says asur, and so on and so forth. Lo nimneu bet shamayim mileisei nashim mi bet Hillel. Even though they were arguing, they were still marrying each other because they were disputing about the whole ability to divorce and to yachasin and and lineage and so on and so forth. They didn't mind. Velo וכל טהרות והטמאות שהיו אלו מתארים ואלו מטמאים לא נמנעו עושים טהרות אלו על גבי אלו, even though they were חולק regarding Tuma and Tahara and doing Masrot and so on and so forth, they still would do it together. It will be not a problem. Because my opinion is my opinion, your opinion is your opinion. So that point brings us a wonderful thing, is what we said, that regarding of the machloket, that was the great machloket between Bet Shammai and Bet Hillel. They still knew to give place to the opposite opinion. They didn't feel threatened with it. If you feel threatened by someone or something, it means that you're very weak at that area. So if I'm threatening you by my opinions, of course I'm not talking about talk of ideas of hatred and killing and so on and so forth. Just my opinions. If my opinions are a threat to you, it means that you're feeling very weak on that. Because if on your opinions, because if you feel stronger about it, you won't feel threatened with it, right? Isn't it? It's like today, people are petrified of telephones because they're very weak in certain areas. If they're weak, there's no need to be afraid of telephones. There's no need to be afraid of anybody. And we shouldn't forget that. Now, the Kli Yakar says that Korach, that it says over there, and of course Chazal said, and one of the most important points in Avodat Hashem is Ivdu et Hashem besimcha. Right? It says in Tehillim, you should worship Hashem with joy. It says Korach ben Yitzhar ze mareh al chokhmah. Right? It shows that he was pikeach. Yitzhar is really refers to oil, and oil always represents wisdom. So it means that he was a smart man. So what happened? He took 250 men from the tribe of Reuven, and they were Nesi'ei Eda, Kri'ei Moed, and Sheshem. They were very chashuv a person. They were big guns, as they say. And it says over there on Sheshem, they were gdolim b'chokhmah. Uve'osher, they were wise and wealthy. So if he was able to influence all of them, so for sure he was a big smart guy, right? So the Kli Yakar says that Korach, what did Korach do? He took all the people who were bitter, Kol Mareh HaNefesh, all the people who were bitter, and who were there, Bnei Reuven. That they were and why they were bitter? Because the Bechorah was taken away from Reuven, so they were very bitter that it was taken away from them. So Chazal tells us that people who feel bitter, Anashim Shemar Laim, people who feel bitter, right, are going to look for a way to get out of the bitterness, right, which makes sense. However, usually people like that are not looking to become happy, which is the paradox. What they're looking to do is make other people feel bitter. So as they say, Tzarat Rabim Chatzi Nechama. Idan, what's the matter? You swallowed the cat there. So, and this is also a matter of jealousy. Why, if you're happy and I'm not happy, why you should be happy? So guess what? I don't want to be happy. It takes too much from me. I'm very comfortable being, it's a certain source of narcissism, and I'm not capable to change. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make your life miserable as well. So like this, everybody's bitter. So that's what Korach did. He was able to find that spot in these people, and he gathered all these people around him. So it's like the story that they said there was a king, and he had a daughter. A king had a daughter, and she was sick. She was a little depressed or whatever. So he went to all the doctors. They looked for anything and so on and so forth until they found some old Chinese doctor with a twiggy little beard, and he comes and he says, the medicine for her is that she's going to wear a robe or garment of a person who is sameach bichlako, who is happy. If she's going to wear that any garment of this person, I guess the energy is going to rub on her, and she's going to cure. So okay, so when the king started asking all his ministers, no, she's me, are you happy? Are you happy? Are you happy? Are you happy? And so on and so forth. And he didn't find even one person who is happy with what he has. And so on, he went on and on and on, but he didn't find any person who was happy. In other words, nobody is happy with what he has. No one. And yet we are obligated, if do it Hashem b'simcha. Ezu ashir sameach bechilko. And that affects our ability. I mean, Ribono Shel Olam, look at what you have. Why aren't you happy? Look at what you have. Look at what you had 10 years ago, and look at what you have now. So much better. And what are you complaining? What's your problem? Life goes on, and you are still in your bitterness. It's terrible. And you know, bitterness comes from, if you feel something all the time bitter in your mouth, it means your liver is not working right. And if your liver is not working right, you know, it means that your immune system is not working right. And if your immune system is not working out, it means that you are also getting sick. And if your liver is not working right, it also is going to affect you emotionally, right? Jigar, right? Liver. So you are very happy. It's a cycle. You need to break this. You need to break this cycle. And that's something that is a necessity in Avodat Hashem. It's a necessity in Avodat Hashem. However, we know that the real bottom line, the machloket between Korach and Moshe is between Cain and Hevel and so on and so forth, right? Or the machloket among us is the machloket between, or the division between the right line and the left line. And I'm not talking about politics now. I'm talking about the right line and the left line. So let's look at what the Zohar says about that. The Zohar says, come and see, Aharon u Yemin. Aharon is the right side, which is Chesed. The Leviim are small, that is Gvura. Korach wanted to switch right and left. He wanted to create chaos. He wanted the Kehuna, right, which is the right side, is going to come for the Leviim, which are left. And because of that, he was punished. He wanted to make Irbuviyah. So he was punished, and not more than that, that he had also the issue of Lashon Hara, that he spoke on Moshe, and he was punished for all of this. Rabbi Yehuda said, "Hasmol nichlal tamid bayamin shezeu tikuno shel hasmol." The left always overrides on the right side a little bit, washes over the right side, because this is how you fix the left. זה התיקון של זה. If not, you can't do it. If only left, you can't do it. And it says, and he wanted the ruling of the Leviim, which were left, which were not a part of that. They wanted to rule on the right side, which are the Kohanim. And because of that, he was ne'evad lemala ve'lemata. He wanted to create a chaos here. By his actions, he wanted to create a chaos up in Shamayim as well, and mix up this attribute, and therefore he didn't enter Olam Haba, and he was buried alive. So Korach halach b'machloket. Korach went with the machloket. And when you do machloket, you are exploiting, and you are denying, and you're pushing away. Harchaka v'dichui shel lemala ve'lemata. Pushing and separating, denying, both up and down. And mi sherotze lidchot tikun ha'olam, and a person who wants to prevent fixing the world, yeh ne'evad bechol ha'olamot. A person that doesn't want tikkun ha'olam is not going to have chelek ba'olam haba. And tikkun olam, Rabotai, is anybody who prevents and tries to deny the unification or the unity of Am Yisrael. A person that comes and divides and conquers for its own benefit. En lo chelek la'olam haba. You should be a force that unites people together, that bridges gaps, not that divides. Regardless of how righteous you think you are. Korach thought he was righteous. But this is only your imagination that you are telling yourself and persuading yourself, and you're dividing, And אין לך חלק לעולם הבא, and together with you, and you'll see usually, a person who divides usually will listen to you first. And then you will hear exactly what Korach says. What exactly you are complaining about. And then he's going to reassure and reaffirm your concerns. And you're going to say, oh, finally somebody understands me. And then you're going to go to his side, just like Korach did to his people. He's playing on your weaknesses. Let's say, for example, argument's sake, right? Let's say Nati loves Chazanut. Chazanut, he likes it. לדוגמה, סתם לדוגמה. Omer Adam, Chazanut. So now, let's say he goes to a minyan. They're davening very seriously, but lo Chazanut. Yeah, they're going straight. So now, I hear that he likes Chazanut, and here they don't do Chazanut. So I say, hey, how are you, Nati? Everything okay? How's things going in your shul? No Chazanut there. You're right, Chazanut is so important. Come to me, I'll fix your Chazanut. That's called dividing. A person like this, en lo chelek l'olam haba. You have to be very careful. Don't complain. Because the people will pull you and you'll be pulled and you will not be able to come out of it, just like Korach did to the other people. As smart and powerful they were, that's what he did. He went to the people who were bitter and he pulled them over. And look what happened to him, and look what happened to them. And the Torah is not like that. You have to know that pushing away, denying, preventing, it's preventing of peace. Machloket prevents peace, pushes away peace. And whoever is cholek ala shalom, right, is cholek on the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Why? Because the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is also shalom, peace, harmony. Peace, harmony, peace/harmony. The Torah is peace, is harmony. It says, V'chol netivoteh shalom. V'chol netivoteh shalom. Hashivenu. That's young Israel style. Yeah, anyway. You see, I used to daven with Ashkenazim. I still do. Anyway, so the Torah is shalom, B'chol netivoteh shalom, and Korach came to be pogen b'shalom. He came to destroy the harmony of the people. How? By bringing up to the surface their frustration or their bad feeling. Instead of being, says, listen, Bnei Reuven, what do you worry? Don't worry about it. Yes, the Bechorah was taken away from you, but don't worry about it. There's other ways that you can get the crown. I mean, after all, is what? Bechor, they would have been Kohanim, right? So don't worry about your crown of Kehuna, because I can give you now a bigger crown, a crown of Torah. It's bigger than all. So let me help you. Let me help you get the crown of Torah. So instead of pushing them to the positive, he drags them down to the negative by assuring the bitterness. He creates a disharmony in Am Yisrael. And that is the Kav Emtzai. Kav Emtzai, the middle between the right and the left, that's the Kav Emtzai, which is the Torah. Why? Because the Torah says shalom, makes peace between right and left. Between above and the bottom. And that's why he was punished, both from above and both from the bottom. Moshe, on the contrary, is the person who puts everything together. He connects heaven and earth. He includes everybody. That's why his name was taken away from this. It's only Korach and himself. And when we're talking about those three lines, those three kavin, based on the Zohar, so we have small, yamin, small, ve'emtza, right, left, and the middle. So, which is chesed, gvura, verachamim. So the small, the left side, is the willingness to receive, lekabel. Venikra, it's called mishichat orot milemala lemata, pulling out the lights from above down. which is something that causes cognition, not cognition, how do you say, like to be clogged? Clogging. Blockage? Yeah, I like blockage. Yofi. Blockage in transferring and delivering the abundance, the shefa from above. Korach comes Rishon Kerach. Freezes. It stops. There's no flow. Huh? Yeah. Yeah. So when there's no energy in your hair, in your head, there's no blood flow, the hair falls, you become bald. And Korach became Kereach mipo, he ended up with nothing. So the Zohar says the small has to be included with the right in chesed, which is giving, and from that combination you have the kav emtzai, which is the rachamim and the shalom, and that's the truth. Whoever increases the control of the left over the right increases the will to receive to himself, and he derives pleasure and pulls pleasure in a selfish manner without any influence to the people. Without, when you want to be rich, why you want to be rich? For who you want to be rich? For yourself you want to be rich. That's why you're never going to become rich. If you're rich, you have to ask yourself, why HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave me all this money? I'll tell you why. Very simple. To give. So I'm very honored to be a vessel of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so I'm going to give. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave you brains to learn Torah. I'm such a smart person. I know the whole Torah. Well, why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu give you all those brains? To teach. Not for yourself. Not to call yourself, to fill your chest up, feel Harav Hagaon, Ha'amud HaMerkazi, Ha'Patisha Hazak, Amum Yachinu Boaz, and then you go, Aleinu L'Shabeach, right? Aleinu L'Shabeach. You didn't learn Torah and become a big rabbi for that. To be called chief rabbi. You became chief rabbi? Habibi, you got to be scared. Because now you got to produce. Now you got to take care of the people. Not there to secure your seat with chains and lock yourself there. Chaz v'shalom, somebody. You got to fight for the people now. And this is everyone. This is, otherwise you are like Korach. You're only taking for yourself. You're not giving to the people. You're not accepting the midah of Moshe on you. And if you do so, without any hashpa'ah for the people, so for sheyabed min haolam, you're going to become lost. And if you're going to know why, it's simply because the orot, the lights, are going to remove from him. When the lights are removed from you, you're dead. So we need to learn and we need to understand to accept. We need to learn to give. We need to be able to be done lekaf zchut, judge people in favor. Don't gang up on people when it's convenient. You have to see life in a good eye. You have to see the goodness in life. Because I'll tell you that, once you're dead, you're dead. And you can't do anything when you're dead. You have to be appreciative. And you have to not only appreciative, you have to thank for what you have. You have to understand and to acknowledge the order of Bereshit and the process of Tikkun HaOlam from that point on, by accepting, by recognizing the importance of every person, and even more so every Jew, and to become basically a vehicle to the Merkava. A vehicle where you bring in the light to this world, the tikkun to this world. When you have people who are dividing, regardless of the stature in the community, you have to rebuke them. And you have to stay away from them. Tell me who your neighbors are, and I'll tell you who you are. You're going to become just like your neighbors. That's why always associate yourself with people who are Shomrei Torah. Associate yourself always with positive people. You want long life, be positive. If you have chevre who might be what you think good people. However, if they always complain, they got to get together, they always complain. They get together, there's not even a Dvar Torah. Give them a goodbye party and move on. Because you're not going to be able to come out of it. You're going to be dragged with them all the way down, just like Korach and his people. We have to gather together all the positive people, all the people who are interested in real tikkun olam, unify together, show an example, and mimele people are going to come. And if the people are, again, mecharcher milchama umachloket, they always want to call a division, dispute, and so on and so forth, everybody should come and rebuke them, because it affects all of us. It affects all of us, and it actually destroys the world. And it doesn't make a difference if the guy is a janitor or the guy is a big rabbi. Machloket, fragmentation, is destructive. Recognizing the ability of every Jew, and that's something that I learned. I told you this. That's something that I learned from Rabbi Ben Chaim. The importance of every Jew and the ability of every Jew to learn Torah just like you. And for that, I'm grateful for him, because that changed the way I looked at life. Don't go after kavod and honor. Go on something that would last you forever, on unity, putting people together, bringing people closer together. Be a good example, be a good model. When people come to shul, make them feel important. Don't kiss up to people, because that becomes like, you know what I'm saying. But be nice, be courteous. Acknowledge the person with Shalom Aleichem. Acknowledge the person's existence with Good Shabbos, or Shabbat Shalom, or Shabbat, or whatever you want to call it. Acknowledge a person that walks in the street, Jew or Gentile. Say, good morning. How are you? Acknowledge their existence. Because you don't know. Maybe this person going to commit suicide. And you say, good morning, how are you? And he starts talking to you, and you save them. Jew or Gentile. It doesn't make a difference. It's something that you need to learn to acquire. But when it comes to Torah, when it comes to argument, as long as to receive the truth, and when you finish your Chavruta Seder, you're feeling closer together, you're doing a good job. And that's something that we said before. You need to look down at yourself. Where are you coming with the kavanah? Not only the ma'aseh, also the kavanah. So Rabotai, stay away from machloket. Let's become a unifying force. Ivdu et Hashem besimcha, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu will have rachamim on us. Shabbat Shalom.